Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Sourcing from Serbia session. My name is Alex Pavlovic. I'm a chief of party for the Competitive Economy Project, which is currently working on developing a food processing industry in Serbia, which includes promotional work, includes connections to markets, to distributors, to traders, and investments in Serbia food processing industry. Sorry, they didn't tell me how to switch. So, just a few facts about Serbia before we get into the details of fresh production. Frequently, whenever we show up at trade shows, people have difficulties even recognizing where Serbia is from. I get a lot of Siberia comments. So I just wanted to make sure before we start that everybody knows that Serbia is an extremely, extremely sunny place, located in the southern part of Europe. It's certainly a fruit-loving country, a massive producer. We'll get into details in a little bit. And it's a huge exporting nation. Massive amount of our production is actually exported, probably markets that are not UK, and very little goes to EU. But nonetheless, massive amount of exports, which we're hoping now to tailor a little bit to a UK market. A few facts about Serbia. First one is that food and agriculture, and especially fruit, is a strong part of our tradition and identity. We have more than 6 million hectares of agricultural land. 60% of it is arable. And for a country that has only 7 million people, this is actually a massive amount of land available for production. It has beautiful climate, continental mixed with Mediterranean, long springs, long, not so dry summers, and very short winter seasons. The second one is that historically and economically, Serbia is a food-loving, producing, exporting nation. This is specifically valid for fruit sector. In 2017, we exported close to 700 million euros of fresh, frozen, and dry fruits to a variety of markets. Largest supplier of frozen fruits to German and French markets, so those are well-established distribution channels. This mostly, obviously, is the raspberry sector, but as well as other berries and stone fruits. We have blueberries as an emerging fresh segment, which is basically building on that raspberry production base, so obviously has a very high potential. Approaching quickly 1,000 hectares of production, and it has become popular only 5 or 6 years ago. And we're the third largest producer of plums in the world, which is a bit of a tradition in Serbia, which has been exporting plums really since 19th century to European markets. The third point, and the main reason why we're here at this event, is really apple production, which has grown exponentially in the past decade. Last 10 years, we were able to reach 25,000 hectares of the most modern and developed production. We have become the biggest supplier of apples in Southeastern Europe. Sorry, everybody can hear me? We've become the biggest supplier of, the biggest producer of apples in Southeastern Europe. These are professional, up-to-date orchards. They're regularly pumping 60 to 80 tons per hectare. 85 to 90% grade A production, and all international and club varieties. We'll get into details of our apple production a little bit later, but as of this year, we're expecting additional 2,500 hectares to come under full production. And the fourth point is, as I stressed already a few times, Serbia is actually the country of fruit. In addition to apples, I mentioned to you that 8% of the world's raspberry and blackberry production. This is mostly for the frozen market, but it's emerging as a fresh segment more and more. Raspberries specifically are grown on more than 20,000 hectares of land, with more than 100,000 tons worth of exports. In so many ways, Serbia is a trendsetter on the berry market when it comes to frozen segment. And we also have a hearty offer of pears, peaches, nectarines, and all other stone fruit varieties that go with apples and berries. Altogether, Serbia is a really unique sort of basket of fruit production unspoiled, plenty of water and arable land, and really poised for growth now that it's slowly coming into the EU. These are just basic facts as of 2017. More than 1 million tons worth of production of fruit, more than close to 180,000 hectares of production, and 660 million worth of exports. This is only fresh, frozen, and dry segment of fruit. But what we wanted really to present to all of you today is our apple industry. As I mentioned to you already, we're the largest apple producer in Southeast Europe. Our apples are grown in extremely favorable climate, almost perfect for the apple production. We're hitting all the early harvest windows, specifically for the EU markets. Right now, we have more than 25,000 hectares under production, and these are mostly professional orchards. And as I said already, these orchards are putting out regularly between 60 and 80 tons under intensive production per hectare. The varieties that are being grown across the country are Gala, Braeburn, Golden Delicious, Red Delicious, Granny Smith, Fuji, Yona Gold, Idaria, the Crimson Snow, all popular, and other club varieties, all popular varieties that are being consumed in EU and British markets. And we went through a bit of a transition, really. As of 10 years ago, as we sort of embarked on the path to EU, a lot of our apple production looked like this. These are traditional Serbian village production practices. And we went from this to this. Just a few photos of the modern facilities that right now pump out most of the Serbia apple production. Total volume, 400 metric tons, 400,000 metric tons, and still growing. In addition to modern plantations, harvest has pretty much been mechanized on most of our production areas. And obviously, ULO and DCA storage is available, and it's plentiful for all of this production. So again, just a few photos. Calibration units are available at all of these firms. Packaging is pretty much tailored to the market demands, be it UK, be it Russian market, be it EU. Doesn't really matter. The companies have full capacity to respond to the buyer's needs. Then finally, you can see how our sector has evolved. These investments have really produced strong results. 2007, we exported 36,000 tons, and there were more than 100 exporters. So a very fragmented production, small producers, not high-quality production. 5 years later, we had more than 55,000 tons worth of exports with 150 exporters. And this year, we're already looking at only 60 exporters and close to 200,000 tons worth of exports. So you can see the industry consolidating. You can see big professional firms sort of taking over market, being able to respond to any marketing and buyer demands. In addition to apples, another component of the fresh segment that Serbia is aggressively promoting and is offering to the markets more and more is the berries. And Serbia in the past has been famous for the frozen berry sector, specifically raspberries. As most of you probably know, that market is becoming crowded quickly as people are investing more and more into industrial raspberry. So Serbia is quickly diversifying and going into the fresh segment as well. It's a difficult process, but the same conditions that have allowed apple sector to grow in Serbia are available for the berry production as well. Extremely favorable climate, pristine nature, as I mentioned to you already before. Per capita, Serbia has the biggest amount of arable land available in Europe. We have more than 35,000 hectares of production area right now, which we can build on for the fresh production. And as I said earlier, this is all still mostly frozen industry, but fresh is emerging as a new trend, specifically with blueberries and strawberries. At the moment, we have close to 22,000 hectares of production, under production on raspberries. These are mostly industrial varieties. The fresh is slowly emerging. 5,000 hectares of blackberries, also almost exclusively for frozen production, but also 7,000 hectares of strawberry production and close to 1,000 hectares of blueberries, which are both recent trends in Serbia and emerging incredibly fast. The interesting thing about both strawberries and blueberries is that they're building on the fact that Serbia is one of the largest berry producers in the world. So producers are actually educated about berries and berry markets. The second thing is our berry industry is reliant on the smallholders, and a lot of them, which makes problems that are related to labor force, which a lot of people in this industry are facing, absolute in Serbia. We have actual household engaged in production, and we have firms that are extremely skilled and consolidating this production. And in recent years, since 2010, 2011, we see an emerging trend in the berry sector that we've seen in the apple sector for the past 10 years. We see new plantations and new varieties being introduced in the country. These are some of the shots of the emerging blueberry production sites. The most popular being Duke. Obviously, that's a June variety. When there is a window in the UK market and European market, the offer of Duke variety in our market is actually plentiful and has been drawing some strong interest from the EU buyers. And this is what it's starting to look like. Still space for improvement, but this is an industry that is certainly growing, and the offer to the market is becoming stronger every year. The most important thing that we wanted to stress is that we're taking food safety and standards extremely seriously. The companies that came for the show this year, the 9 companies that came under the brand Serbia Does Fruit, are all globally GAP certified. They all have HACCP certifications, they all have IFS, most of them have BRC, which means that they're ready for the UK market, and all other relevant certifications that are needed to sell to EU and UK markets. And as a final point, the whole idea behind coming to this show and actually presenting our industry is to basically showcase that we're increasingly focusing on increasing professional production volumes. We're also increasing storage capacities. We're increasing investment in food industry as well. The country and the government are recognizing that this is a key sector for us. There are EU accession funds available in addition to our state funds for developing the sector. We have also started forming professional associations, this being one of them, that will have a key focus on promoting our industry, promoting our companies, and promoting consolidated offer to the markets. The key point obviously being gathering of the total Serbian fruit offer. We're also developing an export platform, which is soon going to be available to all interested buyers and people who are willing to work with Serbian companies. And obviously, the end goal of this is we are a country of small producers, we're a country of medium producers, and although we do have large companies, we're looking to integrate as many of them and make these systems sustainable and good for the people of the country, obviously. And final point is orientation towards new export markets. Serbia has been a strong player in the Russian market. We've been a strong player historically in regional markets. We're looking more and more to open to EU markets and specifically UK markets. So these kind of events and these kind of promotional initiatives by our association are going to become a lot more frequent in the future. That is briefly about our offer to the market. Please visit us at serbiadoesfruit.com. You will find all information about the companies that are visiting the show here, as well as about other companies that provide not only fresh offer, but as well as dried and frozen fruits. They will be soon available on this platform. We have a representative actually here from association who will hand out promotional material and the cards. So please feel free to reach out, ask any questions that you might have about Serbian industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alex. That was really interesting. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions, please.
Alex, don't be shy. Anybody at all? I'm sure I'd be happy to talk to you directly after the presentation anyway.
Hannah, do you have a question?
I'm good. I'm fine for now. It was really interesting. Really interesting. Would anybody, any questions here? All right, thank you very much, Alex. And the video presentation will be on the website next week. Okay, so you can watch it again there.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.